Thank you so much for being here, Kenneth. I'm so excited to talk to you. So I just got your whole background, your whole life story, but you are from New Jersey. You own how many salons in New Jersey at the moment?
Four currently.
Okay, that's awesome.
There is a whole new way to rise in the beauty industry. LEAD, Rolf's Global Institute, powered by L'Oreal Professional Products Division, is the world's first college degree program for beauty professionals. LEAD is higher education designed to expand your opportunities and open doors to greater success. Create a future with more financial freedom, more autonomy, more possibilities, and more impact. LEAD also provides scholarship opportunities to eligible students worldwide. It's more than a degree, it's a movement. This is where the future of beauty is headed. Be part of it. For more information, please visit leadinstitute.degree.
So I want to start kind of rewind a little bit back to the beginning of this. What was your first exposure that you can remember of the beauty industry?
I've always wanted to do hair my whole life, but coming from a middle class background and coming where college and education was really important, we weren't encouraged to do that. And we didn't know a lot of people that actually made money doing it. So we had no references. So I was kind of forced to go to college and went into the fashion industry, went into retail. And once I climbed the corporate ladder a little bit, I decided I want my own business. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always thought it would be a clothing store.
Okay.
But I always wanted to do hair.
Yeah.
I just thought it was fun. And I decided to quit my job after some experiences with the corporate world. And at that point, because I did well in the corporate life, my parents supported the decision.
Okay. That's awesome. So they were like, okay, you did it. You tried it.
And I was promoted 7 times within 7 years of my career.
Wow.
So my dad's like, I think we should give him a shot.
Yeah.
So
It took a little convincing. Just a little bit.
You would have to meet my mother. But yes, she's like, you're going to go shampoo hair. You have a company car and a salary and benefits. I was like, yes, it'll be okay.
So where did you go to beauty school and what was beauty school like for you?
So beauty school was really, because I went to an all private Catholic high school in New Jersey.
Okay.
And I went to Catholic school my whole life. So I was always used to a certain level of education. And then I was thrown into adult education in New Jersey and it was very different.
Yeah.
So we had a whole mixture of people from all backgrounds, all different walks of life, nationalities, races, everything. So it was culturally enriching.
Yeah.
I was never in that mixture before.
Right.
So it was all economical levels, all that. So I went to vocational school because it was so inexpensive in New Jersey at the time.
Do you remember how much you paid for beauty school?
Oh my God, yes, I do.
What was
That
it?
is the one thing my mother actually told me that was right. She goes, you're not going to a private school. She goes, I think you should go to a vocational school. At the time, Middlesex County, where I live, it was only $650.
Oh my gosh. That's mind blowing.
It was.
Wow. Okay. So you go to beauty school. It's how many hours?
So back then, if you did vocational, it was $1,000. If you did private school, it was $1,200.
Okay.
So I had a couple of friends people where I went to get my haircut and they said at that time, they weren't really teaching anything except, well, actually in New Jersey, they're still teaching the same thing. So they teach the state board, they teach you to pass a test. And so you really didn't learn anything that you needed to really survive. So what I did was I did that. And then I went to a school like Vidal Sassoon afterwards for a straight month, used my money for that and went to learn how to cut hair.
Okay. That's so smart. And I think it's so important. I mean, I'm sure that changed you, I'm sure a lot more in that 1 month and you learned a lot more in that 1 month. That's kind of more practical to what you were going to do in your career.
Yeah, it was right on 17th and Broadway.
Yeah.
So I traded at that time. I went for a month and then, which is a great memory for me, is I would give up 2 or 3 days a week from home to come here. And I would be an assistant for free so I could keep on getting educated.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, that is the kind of like drive that I really feel like a lot of students are kind of missing a little bit. I think that, and that's why it's so important to share your story and to hear how you got there, because I think a lot of people are like, okay, I'm going to go to beauty school and then I'm going to get a job. And even if you go into a salon, like look at all the extra steps that you had to take It didn't just get handed to you, and it wasn't just like you knew that you needed more. And that could have been your age. It could have been that you didn't do it right out of high school. Like it could have been that you had some experience in the real world to say, I need more. Or do you think that it was a little bit of like you knew where you wanted to go? And so you had that in mind?
I think both. So to answer your question is that I believe that I knew that I had to get running, making money, right? So I knew that I needed the skills before I hit the salon. So the only way that I could do that is go get a private education for hair cutting. Because I figured if I could cut hair and I could jump right in, I would make money.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then I also had somebody to tell me there, which gave me some great advice. They're like, just make sure wherever you cut hair, you want to live there or you want to be close. This is not a commuting job.
Okay.
You want to be part of the community because the way you network is really important. So you have to be in events. You have to be local. And until you get experience, then you could live wherever you want and then fly back to that place. But make sure that where you land is really where you want to be.
That's really great advice.
So
that's really smart. Yes.
So it's like, because we can't take our books of business with us. So it's different than any other industry. Like if you're in finance and we have a book of business of stock portfolios and all that, we can do that by Zoom. We can do that by anywhere. I can move to Florida. I can do that. I can't leave New Jersey and do the same level of service that I'm doing.
Right.
So it in that way, in that respect, it's a very different industry. And being part of the community, you keep them longer when you're in a suburb versus a city, right? So we're able to keep them for 7 to 10 years as a client if you can maintain them. Versus where a city would be only 2 years because the turnover is faster and it moves.
Yeah.
So, I decided where I wanted to live. I always wanted to live in a certain part of New Jersey. So I moved there. And that's when I started working in that area.
Yeah. During your time in beauty school, after being in the corporate world a little bit, this industry is very different I guess it's pretty similar. I think your retail experience obviously helped you. I'm sure like for clientele and stuff, like they loved you and like selling products and all of that stuff, which is something that's usually pretty hard for students, pretty nerve wracking. You were probably pretty confident in that. Like, so I think there were probably strengths you carried into it.
I think what happened is when I went to beauty school and I came out, I was a little bit of a purist. So that's what we would call them back then. Like we didn't believe in retail.
Okay.
So when you went to like, it was Jingles or Vida Sassoon, it was either their products, but they weren't pushing the products yet. They were only pushing education. So they didn't believe in the take home care yet.
Okay.
So when I got out of school, it wasn't even important to have retail.
Okay.
I mean, obviously that's changed now.
Right. Yeah.
So that wasn't a big part of it. What was amazing to me was the level of education that wasn't available. They really didn't teach you anything about, if I had not done what I did and went to beauty school, went to fashion school, worked in retail and had corporate training, I don't think I would have survived the business.
Yeah.
I would have went back. I don't think getting out of high school doing this is easy.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think that there's a lot that you have to know to bring into it because of the missing pieces, and I think that you, again, were aware enough to say like, oh, I need more than what this is giving me. And so I'm going to go do that and I'm going to go chase that. And I think that that's, I'm sure, a big reason why you are so successful because you did those extra things. So
I had to find a salon that would allow me to, when I first got out of school, I was like, all right, so nobody's letting me do anything. And I was like, okay, this is kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
And owners didn't want to take a risk. They didn't want to invest in people. They didn't have money to pay people. They didn't see the foresight. Because what happened is that before Summit came along, it was mostly hairdressers would get together from other salons or they would leave for commissions, right? There wasn't a lot of homegrown. And I think that is been the biggest switch. And it's been amazing to watch that. And that's really why I switched over to Summit and why we did that. Because how I started was giving bartenders and servers and all those people, giving them free haircut cards. Because what happened was I figured out, listen, you need to make about $2,000 a month. So if I gave out 5 free haircuts, they were $20 a piece. They usually tip me. If I could get 5 a day, 5 days a week, it was $2,000 a month.
Wow.
Got it?
Yeah.
Yes. So I just started doing that.
Yeah.
What's crazy is I still have some of those clients I can trace back to those cards.
Wow. That is so fun.
It is.
I love that.
It's amazing.
It's so cool.
But so that's what we were talking about before. there's this whole thing going on now on social media. Like you need lunch breaks, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I'm like, okay, but where's your demand on your time?
Right.
So can we get the demand on the time first? And then I'll tell you how to back out of it a little bit. And I think this generation is teaching us a lot of wise things about our industry.
Yeah.
We don't need to be on our feet 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
6 to 8 is plenty, right? 4 days a week is beautiful. But having that pact and doing that, you still got to work at it.
Right.
So I think there's something, and this is my passion right now. And what's alarming to me is the middle is missing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's nowhere to get them out of beauty school to make money into the salons. There's not a lot of people focused in on the middle.
Yeah. No,
So
absolutely.
And I've thought that forever.
Yeah.
So going into salons and talking to salon owners, the poverty mentality that most of them have, and not to their fault, it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that you're so smart because you want to dive into it and you want to talk to beauty school students and you want to be involved on that level to change some things. So I want to talk about your career a little bit, as far as being a stylist, being a salon owner. So what was that path? What did that look like as far as being stylist, then opening first location, second location, and so on?
So I started out doing hair and I was doing great. And I was booking people like hour and a half for this. And I was booking 2 hours for full foils. I needed a full hour for a haircut. So those were long days to make a little bit of money. And I started peaking at about like $1,500 a week that I was doing. And then I joined Summit. And what happened is they gave us a little different way to work. Then I tried the every other like booking, do a touch up, then have some space, then do another touch up. So I was booked. And I took my first assistant on back then. It wasn't even called an associate, so that I had more hands to help me. Then my totals started going higher, started shortening my hours. And then about 10 or 15 years ago, we opened the first one and we did that. We had 6 stations and then we grew out of it. So what I did was I took part of the space next door. When her business was failing, it was a bagel store. So when it started to fail, I asked her to take part of her rent away from her. Maybe that would help her. Really what I wanted was her space.
Right.
So I took the space, I got an extra bathroom and an extra sink and we opened it up a little bit and we were able to add. So the first location we turned in from 6 stations. I think it's 12 now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's correct. So there's 12 and that's where we grew out of that one. Like where the air conditioner went, the hot water heater. We ran out of hot water because it wouldn't keep up with the flow of what we were doing.
Okay.
And thank God, tankless water heaters came along.
Yes.
So we went through that whole experience. And when that happened, somebody approached me about opening a second one.
Okay.
And at the time, we didn't know about shifting. We didn't know about, we're still closed on Sundays and Mondays. So we thought we outgrew it, but really we didn't.
Yeah.
But the business was great. The rent was good and we were doing well and we were training. So we hit this, I call it the sweet spot. There was 9 to 10 stylists. We started, I think we were getting close to hitting, that location hit $1 million a year. And by the time it hit $1.2 million, we could take 400,000 or 500,000 out of that salon, open another location very close, take some owners out and move it over.
Okay.
So Heather said, my business coach, Heather Bagby, said, I think we should give it a shot.
Awesome.
So I did. Yeah. Not sure if I should have, but it was good.
Yeah. So what does a day look like for you on a normal day?
Now.
Yes.
So now I've totally changed. I work with 3 associates.
Okay. You're behind the chairs.
I'm behind the chair 4 days a week.
Okay.
And
I didn't realize that you were still doing that so much. And
so before COVID, I was doing about 14 days a month behind my chair.
Okay.
And I was managing success. I was probably doing about $20,000 to $24,000 a month. And after COVID, I came back more.
Wow.
And I started working 16 to 18 days a month behind my chair.
Yeah.
Just because we had to jump back in and we had to make some revenue up. So I was starting to change it. And then COVID changed my direction.
Yes.
And so it led me back into the salon. So now I work 7:30 till 2:30, 3 o'clock,
okay.
7:30 a.m. in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. And I work that Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Okay. And you're also managing and running other locations.
I have an amazing manager who's the only shareholder of my companies.
Okay.
That is not hairdresser. She
Okay.
doesn't have her license.
Yeah.
So she takes care of all the payroll. She does a lot of the coaching. I would say I'm more of the visionary and she's more of the business person.
How did you find her?
She was a client.
Okay.
And she worked for a corporation and she started having her children.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was that I asked her, I was like, do you want a receptionist job? At the time we would call it a receptionist. Do you want 10 to 2 while your kids are at? And then as I grew the business, she grew with me.
Wow.
And then her corporate experience started to play into it. And as her kids got older, she took on more and more responsibility and we grew it. And then in each location, there's a shareholder.
I love that.
Yeah. So
really smart.
Each location has a shareholder. We took them out, moved them, put their business and let it grow a little bit.
Wow.
So all the salons are only within about 5 miles of each other.
Oh, they're close. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't realize that they were like all that close.
Well, what's really interesting, it's easier to do that than open them far away.
Yeah.
You can take 300,000 or 400,000, move it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I really realized is I really had to have a passion for this because if I would have stayed at the first location and I just kept all the profit from there and grew it, I would have already been retired.
Yeah.
But what I did was I decided to invest more into people and places and things like that. And I'm like, all right. And then, so
like, because, here I am.
Well, they don't give us money.
Yeah.
Right. So we're all on the books. We're all in, we do everything right.
Yeah.
I went for a loan and, our volume of our company is now about $5 million. And I went for, a loan and they wanted to give me $20,000.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Based on our income.
Wow.
So, this industry is just
right.
Yeah. So they just don't get it.
They don't
think,
at all.
I think that's like my vision is that, if you were a guidance counselor and I was smart, you would tell me not to go to beauty school. And it happens every day for us.
Yeah.
And you hear it all the time. Why can't we go to beauty school and get a business degree?
Right.
That's what people should do. They should get an associate degree and they should get their hair license.
Yeah. I was going to ask you. So you kind of like jumped into that. Like I was literally, no. It's good. Like you're on the right track. Like you're already answering the questions that like I want to talk to you about because I want to ask you, you've mentioned and hinted a little bit at the pieces that you think are missing. So you're a salon owner, 4 locations and you're behind the chair, which means that you are working with associates and you're working with new students hiring. I'm sure if you're experiencing what everyone else is experiencing across the country, you have people leaving, coming, going, some change, some turnover.
Yes.
What have you identified as the thing that's going on that's causing this? Is there one single thing? And I'm asking you particularly because I know you've thought about it. And I know that this is something that you've really like, it's not like you're like, oh, I just think whatever. I know that you've thought about this and it's something that you're attempting to change, attempting to fix. What's missing?
So I think COVID has really made us realize and made us look inward. And I think that's really what happened. So I believe that during the time of COVID, when we shut down, everything could be taken away.
You mean specifically like?
Yeah, like, so I worked for 20 years and then one day somebody called me and I talked to my employment lawyer and he goes, you're going to need to lay everybody off and shut things down. That was probably one of the most horrible days of my life. But I knew I was doing the best thing for my employees because then in New Jersey, they could get to unemployment before all the other salons. Yeah. Before everybody in the restaurant shut down.
Okay.
We knew it was coming. I have friends that are in local government and we didn't know that. Like, so nobody knew until that Wednesday.
Yeah.
I knew that Friday before.
Okay.
That I was going to shut it down.
Yeah.
And so I was able to lay them off Monday.
How were you like confident enough in that moment? Because I think so much of like what we were experiencing was like, is it gonna come? Like, is it gonna happen?
I knew it was coming.
Okay. So you were confident enough to say like, I need to make this decision and I need to go ahead and jump for that.
I did because what happened is that it was happening. The wave was happening and it was happening. There was no, I have friends in the city that are doctors. And literally I was supposed to come in for a checkup from my voice guy. And he's like, stay away.
Wow.
He's just like, stay away.
Yeah.
It's not good. I'll see you later. We'll take care of this later. And I've had a long-term relationship with him. He's been a very pivotal point in my life. And so I knew it was coming. And I think that forced a lot of like, this is it, right? So doing those Zoom calls every week while we were closed and they weren't my employees.
Yeah.
And it makes people question what they're doing with their lives. So I think that's really what we're experiencing now. People, listen, they shut us down. They took everything away from us. That was huge. So I think it made a lot of people think about what they want to do and how they want to spend their time. I don't think it's wrong. I think we just need to get adjusted to the way the world is right now. So if you're somebody that wants to work 3 days a week and I want to work 5, I'm okay with it. But here's what I think is missing. Nobody's teaching them how to get to the 3 or 5, right? So they're telling them about all these wonderful things like, oh, make sure you take a lunch break. Well, how about you make sure that you have an appointment in the book, right? So, and I think a lot of people, the industries that have been affected, as I'm observing, are the industries that were taken away. So a lot of people left serving and they went into other things because they shut them down. Right. So they shut hairdressing down. So that tells somebody, like, it gives them mindset. They have control over whether I earn money or not.
Right.
And I think that was like a mind manipulation thing that I think it's like a trauma. And I think we're just realizing now that we're coming out of trauma. And what happens to that is you wake up and you're like, whoa, this was not. And as you said, people were starting to either open their own salons, go to salon suites. If they never did it before, they were taking chances, right?
Yeah.
Don't blame them for that. Over the last 2 years, I've probably been the most ineffective owner I've ever been in my life. And that was not in fear. I didn't want anybody to leave and I wasn't going to give them a reason to.
So you mean ineffective, meaning like?
I let people do things that I would never let before.
I haven't talked to anybody about this yet that has identified like that being a thing. I think a lot of the salon owners that I speak to are like, I don't know what's going on. I have all these people leaving and we can't hire fast enough. Our cosmetology students can literally go anywhere. They've never been, they've never had more options. They've never been in more demand, right? Because the salons need them.
Yes.
I don't know that I have spoken to many people that have looked inward the way that you're saying you have, to say like, I've been letting you get away with everything for the little bit. And now that I want to have rules again or structure or whatever.
I'm just starting. So I survived. Our bank accounts are where some had told us they needed to be. I followed all the government rules. I put the right amount of money in the bank. I did all of that.
Right.
So guess what? I'm safe again in my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm okay if one shuts down. I'm okay if you leave tomorrow. I'm okay. I've survived.
Yeah.
So now it's time to take back the salons.
Yeah.
And I'm okay doing it a different way. But now you're going to show up to the work the way I want you to show up to work.
Yes. Okay.
And I'm totally okay with it.
Yes.
I'm okay if I have to be alone. I still have my 2 hands. I still have a couple of years under my belt. I can still start over. I'm not worried about it anymore.
Right.
So I feel like I'm coming out the other side of it.
Yeah. Did you hire during that time?
Oh, yes. And so that's another thing that nobody will talk about. We hired associates, right? But here's the wild thing. We hired people and taught people for 2 years not to touch people, not to go up to them, not to be customer service oriented, and not to interact. And when your shift is over, please leave the building. And then we take off the mask and we want them to behave different.
Right.
And we're wondering why they're not. Well,
and like getting frustrated.
Right. So it'd be like you and I landing in Japan tomorrow and being like, oh, here, go learn the language. It's a different world.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know how to get anywhere.
Right.
Well, I wouldn't. I don't know if you know Japanese.
No. I do not. But thank you for a moment thinking that I might.
Well, sometimes you don't want to assume that you don't, right?
I know, yes.
But that is more of what it's like.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where I find us in this weird spot right now of I'm happy for the people that are going and moved on. And I'm really happy that they left because what I've realized is that eventually it will be a good thing because they didn't want to be there deep down. They made some soul searching and it's okay to clear it. Now let's grow it. So now the person that I'm looking for wants to grow people for a living, wants to do that, is really wants to train other people.
So are you hiring differently now? Are you looking at different places?
We did this thing where we were just hiring nice. Like we're just hiring nice, right? Because we would take anybody off the street. Like, are you nice? You can come work for us. Because you can never breed in that. You can never like take somebody and make them nice. Right. Yeah. Like if they're not nice to start with, I'm good with you. You just stay over there where I used to try to save people. I'm not saving anyone anymore. They usually turn on you. Not in a bad way, but they have other agendas. Right. So it's not about me, it's about them.
Right.
And I was never their right fit.
Yeah.
So now I want them to be kind. What do they want to do with their lives? Do they want to sell? Like my biggest joys are like, you know, I have a single mom who has been with me as an associate. She bought her own condominium or townhouse. She drives her own car. She does like all that stuff only because I opened my salon.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the cool stuff that I get to watch. People pay for their own weddings, do all that. That's where the gifts start to fly in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but you need those people that have that feeling. And this, I've never seen a group of people on social media or in this age group. And it doesn't even need to be age group. It's just where they are in their businesses.
Right. Yes.
We call it level 3 or whatever, but they get to this point where it's very ego based. And what I mean that they don't really worry about anybody else. And it's not wrong. I think we just went from, I don't want to be that person where 12 hours a day anymore and my feet hurting and my back hurting, but I also don't want to be that 3-hour person and still expect to make $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the world, like if you live in New Jersey, you have to make $100,000 combined, you know, but it would be nice if you did it on your own. If you don't do that, you really can't live there comfortably. So teaching people how to do what we love as an industry, I think there's a miss. I think we can teach more people how to do it the right way and not the right way. Do it how they want to live.
And kind of work backwards a little bit. Like,
blend the two.
Yes, exactly.
Blend the hard work and the hustle with the knowledge we have today. Would be amazing.
It definitely feels like when I first came into the industry, like 10 years ago, I think, you know, the downside was like a lot of people not supporting it or like parents not supporting it. It feels a little bit like there's more of like, I don't want to say an attack and like be dramatic, but I know exactly the memes you're talking about and those kinds of things where it's like, it really feels like you're being negative about this industry and you're like, no, but this is what you have to do. Like what you're being negative about or the things that you're screaming are just a part of the industry if you want to be successful. And I think kind of just like COVID, like you said, you got through it, you survived. I think as an industry, this thing that people are doing and leaving and going on their own and just jumping, like without even having the preparation to go out on their own and do that, I think is going to be something that changes. And I think that we're just going to have to wait and see like what that ends up like looking like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think you couldn't have said it more perfectly, is that we're going to have to figure it out because going forward, we need to learn how to get the people in the salons to work.
Yes.
I mean, my big thing that I think I'm going to change is I would love to start recruiting. And in retail, we used to actually go into other stores and do that. And be like, listen, I have opportunities for people that you know.
Yeah.
So a lot of chain salons and a lot of venture capitalists are putting money into chains because there's money in hair.
Right.
Problem is they're not really worried about the hairdresser.
Right. Yeah.
The hairdresser becomes a commodity that tops out at $40,000 and they can't make more.
Right. Yes,
at a national chain.
Yeah.
So, if you come work for an independent owner, I can get you all the way to 180.
Yeah.
And you're still working 4 days a week.
Right.
But you're giving 4 other people a chance to earn a living.
Right.
So it depends on what I mean, that's the huge thing. So the chains right now really have an advantage over us because they have volume out of walk-in.
Yeah.
So people think that's good busy.
Right.
But then their lifestyle gets to 40,000 and then they're stuck.
Right.
And so they're kind of trapped.
Yeah.
So if we can make them aware, I think there's no awareness to our industry. I don't think they know, like nobody has ever met a me.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Right?
That's why we had to put you out there. That's why we have to do this.
Well, when I tell people I work 4 days a week and I make $180,000 a year behind my chair, not as an owner.
Yeah.
Like I'm making 180 grand behind my chair.
Yeah. That's so amazing.
That's why I had to go back and do it.
Yeah,
because there was no profit after COVID.
Right. Yeah. You're like, no, this is what we have to do.
I mean, this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
And it just proved to me that I could do it.
Yeah.
It proved to me that I was okay. Yeah. And it also changed me.
Yeah.
I don't want to do long balayage anymore. I want to do touch-ups. I want to do a couple foils and I want to do great haircuts.
Yeah.
I do not want to do balayages that take me 4 hours.
Yeah.
It's just not my...
Right. But you get to be in control of that now because you put in the work to get it. Like that's why.
Right. So, and with the economy, what it's doing or what we're going to see it do or what we think it might do, I think it's really interesting that we're going to have to dig our heels in to get the same amount of clients that And it's going to be interesting to see how this all washes out.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do a follow-up episode together.
I would love that.
You and I will just be the correspondents on this, and we'll just keep updating all the time.
I think we can do it.
I think we should too.
Yes, I think it would be great. So that is where I think what we were talking about is the miss.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think the miss is that we're not giving them business tools.
Mm-hmm.
We're not telling what it's really like to earn a living.
Mm-hmm.
We don't tell them what a real day looks like in a hairdresser.
Right.
I mean, I've heard salons now hiring cleaning people at night because the stylists don't want to clean anymore. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
You can take Windex,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, Summit makes it really amazing that we have a lot of hands to help us.
Mm-hmm.
But in every industry, we have not caught up.
Yeah.
And you can even see it in the medical field, accounting. I always relate it to very respected professions.
Yes.
They all have assistants. They all have people who do all their work.
Mm-hmm.
And even designers, they don't sew the dress.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we need to make hair designers, but they need to know the stages of what that looks like.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, what does it look like to be a paralegal? What does it look like to be a staff attorney?
Yeah.
What does it look to be in private practice?
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are wrong. I think you
Yeah.
could be a studio hairdresser, a salon hairdresser, a corporate hairdresser, and a suite hairdresser. I think you just need to know what all those avenues look. And guess what? Nobody's laid it out.
Yeah.
Maybe Summit's the first one that
Yeah.
probably tapped into it and
Right.
started doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But the schools are not telling them, especially if we go outside of a T-spa or we go outside of professional school.
Yes.
They're not doing it,
No,
especially
absolutely.
in our vocational schools.
I think it's why it's so important to ask the right questions when you're looking for beauty schools and, making sure that you're talking to people that are successful in the industry and getting their opinion on that as well.
So I've always in my whole life wanted to change the New Jersey test.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to make it like 4 months of haircutting, 4 months of color, 4 months of business, 4 months of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Like teach them the real stuff that we're going to teach them to make money.
Yeah.
And I don't think we do that.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. And,
That.
and really it came out of needing people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is really what's happening is it coming out of a need. It's like, where are these people? I got to get to them.
Yeah.
And that's where I discovered what was at the beauty schools.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to follow this journey and I'm excited to see kind of what you learn. And I have so much I want to talk to you about as soon as we shut these cameras off. Because I have so much I want to talk to you that we can't say on camera, but we're on the same path and we are definitely hoping for the same things and for the same change. So where can we follow you?
Hair by Kenneth on Instagram.
Okay.
My page is not really that updated.
Okay.
But we are working on that.
Awesome.
But it will look better.
Yes.
And so you can follow me there.
Okay.
That would be great.
And your salons, where can we follow
They
your
are
salons?
Evolution in New Jersey. There's one in Monmouth County. They're all in Monmouth County.
Okay.
And there's 4 locations.
Okay. Great.
And they're all on my Instagram. It says it.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. So we can follow you there.
So if you can follow me there, that would be wonderful.
Yes. Well, we will go do that. And thank you so much for being here. And thank you for what you're doing to really, help elevate the industry. Because I think it's important for salon owners to be involved in this conversation. So thankful for you and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
There is a whole new way to rise in the beauty industry. LEAD, Rolf's Global Institute, powered by L'Oreal Professional Products Division, is the world's first college degree program for beauty professionals. LEAD is higher education designed to expand your opportunities and open doors to greater success. Create a future with more financial freedom, more autonomy, more possibilities, and more impact. LEAD also provides scholarship opportunities to eligible students worldwide. It's more than a degree, it's a movement. This is where the future of beauty is headed. Be part of it. For more information, please visit leadinstitute.degree.